Hello, solopreneurs. Are you working with clients who respect you, pay what you're worth, and call you first thing when they have a need? If not, you may have fallen into something that I call the bad client trap. Stay tuned to learn just how easy it is to fall into that trap and what I do to avoid it. Welcome to the Solopreneur Life Podcast. I am your host, Kathryn Aragon, and here at Solopreneur Life, our mission is to help solopreneurs and freelancers just like you launch and grow a six-figure business without overwhelm and without burnout. Learn the skills, habits, and mindsets that you need to build a business that's not only profitable, it's fun. Today, we are talking about how to avoid the bad client trap. But before we dive in, take a minute now to subscribe to the Solopreneur Life Podcast wherever you turn in so you don't miss a single episode. All right, I want to start by telling you a story. This actually happened less than a year ago. And I'm a pretty well-established solopreneur. I've had a business for more than 15 years now. And every now and then, I'm still amazed that I get these kinds of experiences. Trust me, it happens whether you're an expert or a newbie, so it's nothing personal. But you are always going to run into that client who thinks they know, oh, we found that person who's going to do this job for peanuts. And you really do have to learn how to navigate these waters. In this case, I had gotten an email about a month prior, just kind of testing the waters. Hey, do you do consulting? And at that time, I had been more of a service provider, and I was trying to transition to getting more consulting gigs. So I was like jumping up and down. It was like, yes, this is awesome. And of course I do consulting, because I do. I wasn't lying. But here's the deal. Once we got on a call, everything shifted, and they started talking about how they had tried to hire overseas people to do this work for them, but they really needed them to know English. And dropping into this conversation are little things like calling me dear, and just referencing the need for low-paying service providers or low-cost service providers. And I could sort of sense where this was going, but I was still hopeful. So we go through the conversation. They're asking for in-depth, very advanced work, and I'm thinking, hey, this could be cool. This could be a really great gig. But then we start talking money. And what do you think happens? I give my price, and they're like, oh, well, what if that's a little high? What if we hire you on an hourly basis? What's your rate? So I give them my hourly rate. And all of a sudden, the business owner, who I'm talking with the business owner and one of his directors, and the business owner is like, what? That's how much I charge. And I guess, what was he trying to do? He was trying to shame me into thinking that my price was too high and I needed to lower my price. My assumption is that he wanted me to be the same price as his overseas workers. He just wanted the years of experience I bring to the table, the perfect command of the English language. I say perfect with air quotes. He wanted the expertise. He wanted everything I brought to the table, but he wanted me to charge as if I was overseas or a rank beginner. Now, the question is, what do you do when that happens? In this case, I am a seasoned pro. I have had these kinds of experiences before, and I'm not going to be intimidated into believing that my rates are too high. I know they're high, but you're paying a premium for the experience. So I just sat there. And while he ranted and raved and tried to make me feel small, I just sat there. Because truth be told, if he can't afford me, he can't afford me. We're not a good fit. I didn't need to convince him that I'm a better fit. Oh, whoa, let me work harder to get this gig that I know is going to be abusive. What I want you to understand is that, again, it's not personal. This isn't happening to just you. It happens to all of us, and it doesn't say anything about you. It actually doesn't even say anything about them except that they can't afford you, and they were hoping they could. The truth of the matter is, this is going to be a bad fit, and that would make them a bad client. Anytime you're dealing with somebody who can't afford you, who doesn't respect what you bring to the table, and maybe isn't willing to pay for it, you can consider that a bad client. So, let's talk more about that. What is the bad client trap? Now, the first thing we need to talk about here is your mindset, because I really need to emphasize this. You are not a victim when this happens. You don't need to go off and feel sorry for yourself. Oh my goodness, why do people do this to me? They do it to everybody. Usually, if they're doing it to you as a consultant, they're doing it to somebody else as a consultant too. They are shopping for the best deal because they have a limited budget. And you need to understand that. If you ever start hiring, you're going to have a limited budget too, and you may not be able to pay top rates, but you still want quality. So I get it. He's got his fingers crossed, hoping he can snag me, regardless of his knowledge that I'm experienced and have been doing this for a while. So you're not a victim. You just haven't flipped that switch yet. And what is that switch? What is it that I'm talking about here? This is the mindset. What I want you to remember is you are not an employee. That means you don't have to take any gig that comes your way. You can say no to everything if you want to. Of course, you'll have a hard time staying in the black if you do that. But here's my point. We all go into a solopreneur business after having had a job, and we have been brainwashed into thinking we're employees and that we need to continue to act like employees when we're hired by a client. This is, I think, exacerbated by the fact that many times they don't know how to hire a contractor. So when you're talking to a client, they're treating it as if they're hiring an employee. They want to see a resume. They want to see samples of your work. And granted, I'll give them samples of my work. They need to know I can do the job. But they don't need to interview me as if I'm an employee, because that's not what I am. I'm a contractor. I am a business owner. And I've got to come in acting like a business owner. So do you. Remember, you are not an employee. You are a solutions provider. What that means is that you are equal to the person who's interviewing you. You may actually be higher in the rung than they are. If you're talking to a manager, you're a business owner. You are the expert, not them. They're an expert in what they need, but you're an expert in what you provide. So keep that in mind. You are also incredibly valued because you bring knowledge, experience, and skills that they need. They need you more than you need them, even if you're strapped for cash. So keep that in mind. I want you to maintain the right mindset as a solopreneur business, and that is the owner mentality. You need to understand that you come in, and when this guy says to me, but that's as much as I charge, fine, it should be the same amount of money because you are a consultant and a business owner, and I'm a consultant and business owner as well. So we are on an equal playing field. You're just paying me to bring a certain skill, and I'm offering to bring it at my price. Now, what is the trap? So that's the mindset I want you to keep in mind. But let's talk about this trap that we fall into. And it is so easy to fall into it. I've done it before, and it took work to get back out of it. But what it is a client makes you feel small, like calling me dear and trying to talk down my price. Well, if I accept a gig like that, they are going to continue to treat me that way once they hire me. So I'm going to start operating in a smaller space because that's how I've been treated. And once I do that, I start attracting more bad clients, and I start thinking that that's my only option. Nothing could be further from the truth. You've got to avoid one bad client, because one bad client can send you into what I call the vortex, and that is a downward spiral of negativity. You don't need to it's basically flushing your business down the toilet. We don't need to do that, right? We want to ascend. We want to build your business, which means you need good clients. So, how do you identify and how do you avoid bad clients? This is the most important piece of all of this. You've got to get really good at catching red flags. So, let's back up just a minute, okay? What are the rules here? You should only work with clients who respect you, but it's on you to vet them and figure out whether or not they do respect you before you ever start working with them. If you get hired by a bad client, it really is your choice. You made that decision. So again, you're not a victim. You just need a better system for vetting your clients. Now, sales calls are always going to be a better way to vet your clients than an email. There is a scam going around that I'm going to reference right quick. This could make a whole podcast, but I've had it done to me twice, and the first time they nearly got me. The second time I knew it was very possibly this scam, so I played along, and it got shut down before it turned into anything. But that is, someone sends an email to you, and they say, oh, no, because I have this disability, I can't do a sales call with you. In the old day, they didn't do that because we only operated by email, but the most recent ones, they're saying, no, I have this disorder, so I only talk with people on email. But I've got this article I want you to write, and I'm going to pay you 10 times what it's worth, just because I think you're great. All right, so that hooks you in because you're like, whoo, I want $5,000 to write one article. I promise you that's probably a scam. Nobody will offer that right off the gate. But here's what you need to realize. Once you get that gig, then they start talking about payment, and they want to pay you too much. They want to pay you for the next gig with this caveat. Yeah, but if your writing isn't quite good enough, we'll need a refund. So what are they doing? They're wanting to send you money and then have you refund it back to them. But their money isn't real. Their money is never going to really arrive. Meanwhile, they're running off with your money, right? Okay. So that's why I'm going to tell you, first thing, don't rely on email. Email is not the best way because you can get suckered into some bad client deals doing that. A sales call gives you so much more control. And with a sales call, you are able to see the person you're talking to. You can read their face. You can read their movements. You can kind of get a better feel for whether or not this is going to be a good fit. I can talk about other sales calls I've been on, and I'll kind of reference them in a minute. But where it felt like I had the light bulb over me, and I was sitting in a chair strapped down, and I had people in the darkness beyond grilling me to see if, why are you doing it like this? How are you going to handle that? Listen, if they're aggressive, if they are attacking you, that's a big red flag. My husband on that call actually walked past my computer with a photo of red flags on his phone because he could hear them and he couldn't even see them. You will always catch red flags if you're watching for them. So I want you to start actively looking for them. I want you to avoid bad clients, and the only way you can do that is to be alert. You need to have your spidey sense turned on where you can catch all of these things because I promise you they're showing up. You just might be missing them. So, like for instance, anything that diminishes you, any way of talking to you that makes you feel small or that's intended to make you feel small, like calling me dear. I think that's charming, perhaps, but it is. I'm a business owner. Would you call a man dear? No. Then what are you trying to do by saying that? And I'll let it slip. I'll let it slide. I won't slam anyone for doing that. But that is one red flag that I'm watching for. How do you talk to me? What's your tone of voice? Is it diminishing or are you respectful? The next is challenging your price versus negotiating. Now, this is a big distinguishing factor because remember, I told you The reason they're challenging you is because they don't have the funds. If their budget is tight, you've got to respect that. They're not trying to be difficult. They're just really trying to get the best help they can for what they can afford. And I know because I hire people and I can't pay top dollar. So I've been on both sides of this. But if they are challenging your price and making you feel bad about your price, that's one thing. If they're saying, that's a little steep, what could we do to get that price down? That's negotiating. That's a different animal altogether. So when somebody says, oh, I can't believe you're charging that much, I want you to just chill. I want you to just stop. You're not going to answer that. I don't want you to ever be afraid to talk money. So I want you to understand how much you deserve good rates. I want you to state them boldly. I don't ever want you to apologize for them. And that's what was happening in this call that I was on. Basically, he was trying to get me to back down, but he did it aggressively. He challenged me rather than saying, what could you do? Here's my budget. What could you do in that budget? That's a different way of approaching it. One is respectful, the other is not. Never accept a client with someone who doesn't respect you. And that brings us to the third red flag. So the first is, diminishing you. The second is challenging you instead of negotiating with you. And the third is being aggressive. In other words, they're challenging your process, your solution, or your knowledge. And that brings me to that other call that I mentioned a little bit earlier. That one where it felt like I was being grilled, like I was on trial. That was a huge red flag. By the end of the call, I felt so defensive. I was a little bit exasperated. It's like, what are you wanting here? And I finally ended up just writing back because they were like, oh, well, we want all these services, but we want you to lower your price. And finally, I wrote back and I said, listen, all of those things you're asking for were in my original proposal. This may just not be a good fit. I don't appreciate the way you spoke to me, and we need to just call this off. So you have every right to do that. When you see the red flags, you can sit quietly and just let things go on around you. You don't have to react violently or get angry. You can just admit, I really think this might not be a good fit. Why don't we wait until you have the budget to afford? Or why don't we wait until your situation changes? Notice how much more commanding that is. Because remember, you're not a beggar and you're not a victim. You have a voice. You're a business owner. So you need to negotiate the deals that are best for your business, just like your client is trying to negotiate the best deals for them. So never be afraid to talk about money. That's an important thing. So I'm gonna say that several times. You deserve good rates, which means you never need to apologize for asking for them. You may need to negotiate. You may need to accept a lower rate, and that's totally up to you. I've had freelancers tell me I'm raising my rates to this, and I've had to answer, I can't do that. This is what I can do. And so we can choose to part ways at that point, or you can accept my rates, and you always have that choice. State your rates, negotiate, and then you may compromise or you may walk away. That's entirely up to you. But I always want you to feel like you were in control as you were talking about money, because you're the business owner. You don't need to accept a project that isn't up to your standards. And many times, let me just throw this in. This is kind of an aside. Many times I will accept lower rates than I bid or propose. And the reason is I may be learning something on this project. I may be working with a different type of client. I may be creating a new product line, and it's okay because I'm learning on this client how to refine that offer so I can charge more for it later. I don't mind sometimes charging a little bit less if it means I come out winning in a different way. So that's one thing I want you to keep in mind. It's not just about negotiating dollars. Sometimes you decide, I do want this gig. And even though they can't quite afford it, or maybe I don't even know how to price it yet, I'm going to learn a new skill. I'm going to up-level my business in some way. And so I'm willing to do this. You've got to make that choice. It's you that makes that choice, not the client. And as long as you keep that in mind, yeah, you can do whatever you want. Now, if somebody wants to negotiate with you, negotiate. And like I said, you may decide that a lower fee does work for both of you. Just go into it knowing that it's your choice. And then always, always walk away if they try to diminish you in any way. You do not need clients who try to make you feel like you are less than, because you're not. Okay, there are more than 32.5 million businesses in the U.S. alone. Now, think about worldwide. Because I work with international clients as well. You've got so many opportunities to build your business. Why on earth would you settle for a bad client? Ask yourself that. Why do I need this client in particular? If you're ever feeling desperate, just open your eyes, look around at all of the opportunities that are out there, and you can change your offer. You can change the way you frame your offer. You can change your service. You can pivot your business if you're not getting enough clients, if you're not making enough money. As the business owner, you can do anything you want, and there are plenty of opportunities to get the money you need. You just never need to settle. I don't want you to fall into the bad client trap because it's really hard to climb back out of it. And for that, you just need to change your mindset and you need to know your value. Don't settle. Work with people who respect you, who treat you well, and who understand that you're a partner and a peer, not an employee. Okay, I am going to now reach out to my sound guy, Jonathan. Jonathan, do you have any questions?
Actually, I don't have a question. What I did want to comment on was the situation where you had the really aggressive call.
Yes.
And what was going on there, what I saw going on there more than anything was they were really attacking they were trying to demean your knowledge,
yes,
your ability to solve that problem,
to do the job.
And so yes, so they were saying, they were like, well, but how many of those have you really done? And it's like, well, I've done a lot of those. And yeah, but what's the result of that? Well, it was really pretty good. And they were challenging your expertise, and it was the kind of thing where you could easily have just said, well, go look at my website.
Yes.
And you've had that before, and I think that's one of those red flags when they're trying. So then, why did you call me if you didn't believe I was capable?
And I think that's a really, really good way to look at it. So many times, again, you've got to realize they are grasping at straws. They many times know they don't have the budget to hire the help they need, but there's this transition point every business goes through where it's too much work for the people they've already got, and they've got to grow. They just don't have the money to grow yet. So they're hoping against hope that you will be that person who will accept pennies on the dollar to get them over that hump. And you get to decide if you're that person. But if they are being aggressive, trying to force you into that role, you don't have to take it. Because again, you're not a beggar. You're not a victim. You are a business owner. And you've got to recognize that and stay in that role throughout the conversation, throughout the job. One of the things that people say of me is that I'm professional, that they like working with me because it stays professional. So even when they get ugly, even when you see those red flags, stay professional. Yes, sometimes we can lose it because it's like, what on earth are you asking me? And sometimes there gets a little edge in my voice when I'm dealing with those aggressive clients. But I don't worry about that too much because I'm still maintaining professionalism. But I'm also kind of letting them know, why are you calling me if you don't understand that I can do this? Did you not look at my website? So we'll talk more about how to make your website the showcase it needs to be. But, I was just on a conversation yesterday with someone who said many times you can look at a newbie's website and a professional person's website and you can't tell the difference. You can look at that newbie person and go, wow, they look fantastic. They must have a lot of experience. And then you talk to them and you realize they don't. Now, it is very possible that that's been their experience, your client's experience, and they're trying to uncover, do you really know what you say you know? But the red flag is that they're doing it aggressively. They can ask all the questions in the world, but they need to ask politely. They need to be professional as well, not go into attack mode as if you're the enemy. Because remember, you're the resource. You're the person who brings the solution, is going to help them get over that hump that they're facing. So why attack you? Why come at you as if you're the bad person trying to take advantage of them when they called you? So I love that point, Jonathan. Why did you call me if you didn't think I could do the job? Well, maybe they don't know you can do the job. Maybe they want to figure it out, but they still need to do it in a nice way. Because honestly, we're all in this together. You and your business, you are one of those, how many? 32 million businesses that's out there. And you need to recognize that and own it. So own your business, own the fact that you are a professional, own the fact that even if you aren't well established yet, you bring something good to the table and you deserve good clients. I try always, like I said, I hire myself. So I come to this topic from both sides of the equation. I get hired all the time, but I also hire. And I know that I can't offer the amount of money that some people are worth, but they still will choose to work with me because I treat them right in every other way. And that's my goal. If nothing else, I can treat you with respect and help you step into that elevated mindset, the business owner mindset of helping you know what value you bring to the table, how people should treat you, so you can recognize that bad client even better. So that's what I want you to start doing right now. Is I want you to start looking for red flags and identifying who are the clients who are pulling you down. Remember, you can always fire a bad client. And when you get a good client, you want to hang on to them because they really are hard to find. You want to keep them and you want to get them referring you to other good clients because we can reverse that vortex. Instead of that negative spiral, we can create a positive spiral of growth. Okay, so what are you doing now to grow your business? What are you investing in that's going to help you elevate and achieve the growth you're looking for? If you are really serious about growing your business and you've considered coaching and just decided it's too much, I can't afford it, I want you to consider the Hub. This is purposefully too low priced. I have decided that I'm not going for the high dollar coaching on this product because I remember my days as a brand new host, a brand new business owner where I couldn't afford the coaching I needed. So I've committed to making this affordable. So go to solopreneurlife.com/join hub and check out my coaching program, which I guarantee you can afford no matter where you are in your business. And don't forget to subscribe to the Solopreneur Life Podcast wherever you tune in. Visit us at Solopreneur Life just to hang out and read the blog. And join us next week for another smart episode of the Solopreneur Life Podcast. Until then, stay awesome.